Imagine waking up tomorrow and suddenly you've received a large windfall of hundreds of thousands of pounds. Your first instinct might be to invest it because inflation's eating away at the value of your money and you want to make sure that you get the best return possible as soon as you possibly can do. But here's the thing, one of the biggest mistakes people make when investing a lump sum isn't doing it too late. It's rushing into the wrong decision and not considering their overall circumstances before they put their money to work. So in this video, I'm going to talk you through 6 steps that you can take before you invest a penny of your money to make sure you can set yourself up for the best result possible. So welcome to the channel. My name is Paddy Denning. I'm an independent chartered financial planner and I help clients walk through these decisions each and every single day. So let's get started. Number 1 is surprisingly simple. It's don't rush. Yes, inflation matters. Yes, you want to get your money working for you, but you want to make sure that you make the right decision based on your own circumstances and a full review of the situation. This is particularly important if the money's come from something emotional, perhaps an inheritance or maybe even redundancy. Sometimes we can want to rush into a decision because emotions are running high and we're not quite thinking straight, but that might not be the best mindset to start investing hundreds of thousands of pounds. Depending on how big that lump sum is, it might open up a world of opportunities to you, perhaps moving house, changing job, slowing down at work, or even retiring completely. So we really want to think about what decision we make next. Once the money is invested in the markets, ideally we want to leave it there long term. And particularly if we're putting it into wrappers such as pensions where you might not be able to get access to the money, you want to make sure you've done the right thing. So give yourself a few weeks or even months if you need to adjust to the new money, to think things through, and you can still leave it in a high interest savings account or something relatively safe whilst you make a decision. So it can earn a bit of interest and you can make an informed decision. A short pause before you do anything rarely hurts in the long term. Yes, you might miss out on a little bit of market gains, but you could also really have a detrimental effect if you rush to invest the money as well. So now we've thought things through, we're on to step 2, get rid of any high interest debt. So that means credit cards, personal loans, perhaps even expensive car finance, depending on what type you've got. You want to look at getting rid of those quickly because they're most likely going to be charging you more in interest than you're going to get in the stock market. And it's guaranteed that you'll be paying that interest. Whereas, of course, you invest the money, nothing's guaranteed. On to step 3. Depending on what sort of debt you had, and your other financial circumstances, we might want to do one of these before the other, but you want to make sure that you've got an emergency fund of at least 3 to 6 months worth of essential expenditures before you start investing that money. Now you may already have this, so you can skip this step if you do, but if you don't, you want to make sure you have that solid buffer in place. Now it might be a little bit more that's needed depending on your circumstances, or you might opt for a little bit less, but you want to make sure that you have an emergency fund readily available. So now you have your emergency fund in place. We also want to look at big expenditures that are going to be coming up in the next few years. We don't want to be investing money which we're going to later need in a few months or even perhaps a year's time. Because if the stock market's down and you need that money to pay for a new kitchen, then you don't want to be selling at a loss or become a forced seller, having to wait until the market goes back up before you can make your own home improvements. So think about what you might need the money for. That could be house renovations, a new car, perhaps a big holiday that you want to take the whole family on. All those sorts of things, if they're going to be happening in the near term, we don't really want to have that money invested. So we want to put that capital away somewhere where it's readily available and not going up and down in line with the stock market. Now the 4th step is to decide what the money's actually for. You want to upsize your house or buy an additional property. Perhaps you just want to build some long-term wealth to improve the financial security for you and your family. Now, the reason why the goal matters is because it affects how much you should invest and where you should invest that money, including how much risk you should be taking with those funds. Someone who's, for example, received a lump sum at 30 years old and they're going to be putting that money into the pension, is going to be able to take a lot more risk or stomach more volatility than perhaps someone who's 60 years old and might start to use that money in the next 5 or 10 years. So get clear on what the purpose of that money is and what you're actually investing for. Once you know the purpose of the money, then you can choose the investment wrapper that you need to put some of that money away into. In the UK, we can quite simply say ISAs are for flexibility and tax efficient investing. Pensions offer more tax efficiency when investing, but less flexibility because you can't access them until age 55 or age 57, depending on how old you are now. And then we have junior ISAs. They're very tax efficient, but they're more for investing for our children's future. Perhaps if you've already secured your own financial future, you've got a big pension, you've got money in ISAs, then you might think about putting some of that away for your children. And then we have general investment accounts. Now these are like ISAs, they're flexible, you can take the money out of them whenever you want to, but you will pay tax capital gains tax, dividend tax, and interest tax, depending on the structure of those investments. So that might be something that you use if you've already maximised your ISA allowances, but you want to retire early before age 55 or 57 and have that bridge, so to speak. If, for example, you're 45 years old and you've got a couple of £100,000 that you've inherited, you might decide over a few tax years, depending on your earned income, how much annual allowance you've got, your carry forward and that sort of stuff, that you might drip some money into a pension over the next few years to get the tax relief, and knowing that you're going to be able to access that money in 10 or so years' time. But if you're 30 years old and you're thinking, actually in 10, 15 years' time, I'm going to upsize my property, but I'm not going to do it now, you might look to put some of that money into stocks and shares ISAs or general investment accounts, so you've got that flexibility and the money's not locked away until later life. Choosing the right structure can really make a massive difference over the decades that you might be investing, and it can make sure that you don't make the wrong decision with your money. Now, it's not a bad thing to put money into a pension, but if you suddenly rush to put all of that money into a pension when you've inherited it at, say, age 30, you might later come to regret that because you need that money for upsizing your house or perhaps paying for your children's school fees. So really make sure that you sit down and plan out where you're going to put your money and what its purpose is. A lot of people spend more time researching a car or even their next holiday than they do thinking about what the actual purpose is for a lump sum that they've received. So make sure you really sit down with your partner if you have one and talk about your goals, what the money could be used for, how it could help you, perhaps put together a financial plan either with a financial advisor or yourself if you're confident doing so, and think about what difference that money could actually make to your life. And then you can start looking at what wrappers or products to put it into. Finally, now you've decided to invest, the next thing you need to do is to decide to put the money in as a lump sum, all in one go, or dollar cost or pound cost average into the stock market. Now, a lump sum does what it says on the tin. That's putting the money into the market straight away, all in one go. And pound cost averaging is putting that money in either in monthly, 6 monthly, or even equally over a year's installments to try and phase out any volatility that you might experience when you go into the market. And the idea behind pound cost averaging is that you spread out your investments and you're not so much affected by a big drop. If you put all the money in one go and the stock market goes down the next day, then of course that's going to affect your investment straight away. But if the market's going down and you're investing in lump sums and pound cost averaging over that time period, then you might be able to buy shares at a lower price and your entry point isn't all fixed at one point. But what does the research actually show? Well, research from Vanguard suggests that 2 out of 3 times it actually makes more sense to put all the money in one lump sum than it does to try and pound cost or dollar cost average that money. And the reason is simple. Markets tend to rise more often than they fall. So by having all the money in one go, you can start putting it to work and benefit from the market gains that hopefully will occur. However, even if lump sum investing is the most optimal thing to do on paper, a lot of people might get some emotional benefit by not seeing their money go down straight away as soon as they've invested it. Particularly if you're very new to investing and you've received a very large amount, what we really want to avoid is putting that money into the market and then you panic selling at the moment something goes wrong. So pound cost averaging could make sense if it helps you stay invested emotionally and stops you from making a rash decision when we inevitably have these market fluctuations. So to summarize it, statistically and historically speaking, lump sum investing is mathematically more optimal, but pound cost averaging could be emotionally easier. But of course, you have to be aware that pound cost averaging could work the other way against you. If the market's going up and you're starting to pound cost average, then you might actually be buying these units at higher prices because the market's continuing to rise. So again, make sure you do your research and understand both options before you put a penny into the markets. So to summarize, receiving a lump sum can be a huge opportunity to really change the trajectory of you and your family's life. But the real advantage isn't rushing to an investment and making a decision quickly. It's really taking your time to think through all the options to make sure that you can set yourself on a plan that should set you and your family up for decades to come. So take your time, clear your expensive debt, a safety buffer, define your goal, and then invest with a clear plan. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.